All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bear Sheath Farm with your host, Levi Khan. We are live. Yes, indeed. And in this, um, I'm just making sure everything's ready. So, in saying this, now what I'm going to do is read Genesis chapters 21 through 25. All right. And that being said, I um, I know chapter 24 is a long verse, or excuse me, a long chapter for the scriptures and that, but we can get through this. I think it's very vital that we get God's word, His truth out, and that includes I'm talking to myself as well as everybody else who claims to be Bible believers. So anyway, let me get back on that part. Okay. Ow. Ooh, that's hot. Just poured myself a cup of coffee here, folks. mm. All right, but due to my cataracts. All right, let's begin in Genesis chapter 21 here. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age at the set time in which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. Isaac. Yes, for the covenant, ladies and gentlemen. Verse 4. And Abraham circumcised his son, Isaac being 8 days old, as God had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him. And Sarah said, God hath made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, Who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. Oh, welcome and shalom to Carolyn Gannon and Wilfred Witzke. Glad you're here. Thumb it up. Anyway, even celebrating when a child is weaned, it shows their value for a child, for the innocent, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm saying that on purpose. That'll be coming in for some of the information later. Anyway, verse 9, And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abraham, mocking. In other words, Ishmael was, teasing, giving Isaac a hard time. Big half-brother to little half-brother, and Sarah wasn't liking it. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. And God said unto Abraham, Let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman. And all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Okay, Ishmael had no part in that in particular. Kind of tells you something, doesn't it? With a bondwoman. Their hearts weren't very good at all, were they? Anyway, verse 13, And also the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is thy seed. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and took bread and a bottle of water, and gave it unto Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, and the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water was spent in the bottle, and she cast the child under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat her down over against him, a good way off, as it were a bow shot. For she said, Let me not see the death of the child. And she sat over against him, and lifted up her voice, and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad. And the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven, and said unto her, What aileth thee, Hagar? Fear not, for God hath heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him in thine hand, for I will make him a great nation. Okay? I accept that. Just not the greatest. And welcome and shalom to Haas. Glad you're here. Verse 19, And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the bottle with water, and gave the lad drink. And God was with the lad, and he grew, and dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass at that time that Abimelech and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, spake unto Abraham, saying, God is with thee in all that thou doest. Now therefore swear unto me, here by God, that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son. But according to the kindness that I have done unto thee, thou shalt do unto me, and to the land wherein thou hast sojourned. And Abraham said, I will swear. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well of water, which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. And Abimelech said, I wot not who hath done this thing, neither didst thou tell me, neither yet heard I of it, but today. And Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them unto Abimelech, and both of them made a covenant. And Abraham sent 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What mean these 7 ewe lambs which thou hast set by themselves? And he said, For these 7 ewe lambs shalt thou take of my hand, that they may be a witness unto me that I have digged this well. Wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because there they swear both of them. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. Then Abimelech rose up, and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, and they returned into the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba, and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days. All right, that's all 34 verses of chapter 21. I'm looking at the comments. I'm glad you guys are consistent. It kind of helps out, Haas and Wilfred and Carolyn. I'm glad you're doing that. That does mean a lot. So let's go on to let's go on to chapter 22. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went unto the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. Okay, I'm on I just read through verses 1 through 5. Give me 3 seconds. I think that dog food bowl in Goku's kennel is getting in his way. I'm going to quick take it out before I go on here. Hold on. Stay there. No, stay there. Stay there. No, stay there. All right. All right. Okay. That was so much fun. Anyway, I don't blame him. I ordered him a really large kennel house. Call it what you will, and but still, he's getting so big. I may have to get another one for him in a few months. I hope not, and I'll let him eat in his kennel tonight. And it's kind of in his way when he wants to laze out, stretch out. Kakarot does the same thing in his kennel right beside him. Kakarot's big. He's like 95, 96 pounds, but he's not as big as Goku. So, and his kennel isn't quite as big, but he's good enough. All right, let's continue on to verse 6 of chapter 22 of Genesis. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him, for now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. Okay, before we continue on to verse 13, I should do a little explaining here. I heard these things in Sunday school. I told you I was raised in an adopted home where they were Norwegian Lutheran. In America here, obviously, it's English language, but I used to hear these theories about how Abraham was struggling and wondered why God would make him do such a thing. Huh? My wife is hollering something. I don't know. But I don't believe that. I believe he did it on his faith, and he told his son, he'll provide for us. And he did, as we're going to read as we continue on here. So, continuing on to verse 13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah-Jireh, which would be Yehovah-Yireh in Hebrew, as it is said to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son. Okay, I also want to continue on. I think he was helping to make Abraham even stronger in his faith, to mature and get more complete with this. All right, verse 17. That in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. Now keep in mind, verse 18 relates to Yeshua. And all the nations, or everybody in whatever nation, whatever part of the world that accepts Yeshua as their Mashiach will be blessed, provided you learn how to be obedient. Anyway, so Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she hath also borne children unto thy brother Nahor, Huz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram, and Kesed, and Hazel, and Pildash, and Jidlaph, and Bethuel. And Bethuel begat Rebekah. These 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, and Abraham's brother. And his concubine, whose name was Rumah, she bare also Tabah, and Gaham, and Thahash, and Maacah. It's all 24 verses of chapter 22. Okay, chapter 23, I think I'll just continue on. And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjath Arba, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my lord. Thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres, bury thy dead, none of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat for me to Ephron the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he hath that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is in the end of his field, for as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for a possession of a burying place amongst you. And Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth. And Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham and the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in at the gate of his city, saying, Nay, my Lord, hear me. The field give I thee, and the cave that is therein. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll stop shaking.
Everybody says there's an earthquake going on.
Okay. Nay, my Lord, hear me. The field give I thee, and the cave that is therein, I give it thee. In the presence of the sons of my people, give I it thee. Bury thy dead. And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land, and he spake unto Ephron, or Ephron, take your pick, and the audience of the people of the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me. I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, My Lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that betwixt me and thee? Bury therefore thy dead. And Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant. And the field of Ekron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave which was therein, and all the trees that were in the field, that were in all the borders round about, were made sure unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in at the gate of his city. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah, his wife, in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for a possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. All 20 verses of Genesis chapter 23. I apologize. I've had this habit since I was a little kid, where I shake my leg, up and down with my toes, and I don't even realize I'm doing it most of the time. No, I don't have to be reading to do it, trust me. But I want to explain this. They did contracts for a reason. Abraham refused to do that for free. He did the 400 pieces of silver. He did it in front of many witnesses on his side and theirs. It ended up becoming the Israelites' land later anyway through Joshua, after Moses went and died. Right? Yeah. But you make contracts and you make them as lucid as seal tight as you can. So later, there's no quarrel about it. So that being said, folks, and I still believe they're bound today, even though a lot of it isn't done. That being, I could get into the modern state of Israel and the crap they're pulling through Benjamin Netanyahu, and how he's breaking the contract between Jacob and his uncle, Laban. And that's not good. Okay, I don't care who Bibi thinks he is. I don't care who Trump thinks Bibi is. Okay, Trump needs to get educated. He needs to be informed. Okay. Now let's do the long chapter 24, shall we? Chapter 24. And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven, and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell. But thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. And the servant said unto him, Peradventure the woman will not be willing to follow me unto this land. Must I needs bring thy son unto the land from whence thou camest? And Abraham said unto him, Beware thou that thou bring not my son thither again. The Lord God of heaven, which took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, and which spake unto me, and that sware unto me, saying, Unto thy seed will I give this land. He shall send his angel before thee, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. And if the woman will not be willing to follow thee, then thou shalt be clear from this my oath. Only bring not my son thither again. And the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and sware to him concerning that matter. Before I continue on to verse 10, folks, I won't do that kind of an oath in America. I have no problem swearing an oath if it's called for. And somebody who tries to point out Matthew chapter 5, verse 33, and James chapter 5, I believe verse 12, off the top of my head. There's, in the Koine Greek, there's mistranslations there. Do it on the Lord God only, not on something else. And that's what the Pharisees were doing, to make it to where they could abandon their oath, because they weren't doing it on the Lord God. Okay, they were pulling those stunts. Now, that being said, what I mean by I won't do it that way is because, nowadays it's got to be just as bad in some ways in America and well, Tel Aviv, maybe in Israel, and other areas like San Francisco, the gay capital here in the U.S. If I swear an oath, I'm not going to put my hand under that man's thigh, and because in your hands also, they went under his jewels, just so you know that. It was pure back then. Abraham didn't mean anything bad by it, and Eliezer, his manager, or whatever you want to call him, house manager, didn't mean anything bad. There was no fuddy-duddy perverted stuff going on. Okay? These days, It's like when we eventually get to the New Testament, give them a holy kiss. Don't think I'm giving a holy kiss to any man. I'm not. It will not happen. You can't trust our society today in this era. And you can be falsely accused yourself, for that matter. And Elohim knows this. Okay, so that said, back to even before chapter 24, what really meant of keeping your word and making a contract with people. Too bad we don't have that going on today. People's word don't mean squat, especially in the Christian realm. Even back when I used to be a Christian, I remember asking another Christian on the phone. I still keep contact with them today. I said, so-and-so, what do you think about Christians' words? Keeping their word. How do you think they are on that? And he said to me, look, Levi, a Christian's word doesn't mean squat anymore. It's really pathetic. It's bad. We could use a little bit, or actually a lot more, of the Hebraic perspective and put it into verb action in our hearts, as well as walking it out. So, well, hopefully his wife. Yeah. His wife or wives, which one? All right, verse 10. And the servant took 10 camels of the camels of his master and departed, for all the goods of his master were in his hand, and he arose and went to Mesopotamia unto the city of Nahor. And he made his camels to kneel down without the city by a well of water at the time of the evening, even the time that women go out to draw water. And he said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, I pray thee, and send me good speed this day, and show kindness unto my master Abraham. Behold, I stand here by the well of water, and the daughters of the men of the city come out to draw water. And let it come to pass that the damsel to whom I shall say, Let down thy pitcher, I pray thee, that I may drink. And she shall say, Drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. Let the same be she that thou hast appointed for thy servant Isaac. And thereby shall I know that thou hast shewed kindness unto my master. And it came to pass, before he had done speaking, that behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her pitcher upon her shoulder. And the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin, neither had any man known her. And she went down to the well and filled her pitcher and came up. And the servant ran to meet her and said, Let me, I pray thee, drink a little water of thy pitcher. And she said, Drink, my lord. And she hasted and let down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw water for thy camels also until they have done drinking. And she hasted and emptied her pitcher into the trough, and ran again unto the well to draw water, and drew for all his camels. And the man, wondering at her, held his peace to it, whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not. And it came to pass, as the camels had done drinking, that the man took a golden earring of half a shekel weight, and 2 bracelets for her hands of 10 shekels weight of gold, and said, Whose daughter art thou? Tell me, I pray thee, is there room in thy father's house for us to lodge in? And she said unto him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, which she bore unto Nahor. She said, moreover unto him, We have both straw and provender enough, and room to lodge in. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped the Lord. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who hath not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. I being in the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren. And the damsel ran and told them of her mother's house these things. And Rebekah had a brother, and his name was Laban. And Laban ran out unto the man unto the well. And it came to pass, when he saw the earring and bracelets upon his sister's hands, and when he heard the words of Rebekah his sister, saying, Thus spake the man unto me, that he came unto the man, and behold, he stood by the camels at the well. And he said, Come in, thou blessed of the Lord. Wherefore standest thou without? For I prepared the house and room for the camels. And the man came into the house, and he ungirded his camels, and gave straw unto provender for the camels, and water to wash his feet, and the men's feet that were with him. And there was set meat before him to eat. But he said, I will not eat until I have told mine errand. And he said, Speak on. And he said, I am Abraham's servant, and the Lord hath blessed my master greatly, and he has become great. And he hath given him flocks and herds and silver and gold, and men servants and maid servants, and camels and asses. All right. Popcorn is good, huh? I eat popcorn, by the way. Verse 36, And Sarah, my master's wife, bare a son to my master when she was old, and unto him hath he given all that he hath. And my master made me swear, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife to my son of the daughters of the Canaanites in whose land I dwell. But thou shalt go unto my father's house and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son. And I said unto my master, Peradventure the woman will not follow me. And he said unto me, The Lord, before whom I walk, will send his angel with thee, and prosper thy way. And thou shalt take a wife for my son of my kindred and of my father's house. Then shalt thou declare from this my oath, when thou comest to my kindred, and if they give not thee one, thou shalt declare from my oath. And I came this day unto the well, and said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, if now thou do prosper my way which I go, behold, I stand by the well of water, and it shall come to pass that when the virgin cometh forth to draw water, and I say to her, Give me, I pray thee, a little water of thy pitcher to drink. And she say to me, Both drink thou, and I will also draw for thy camels. Let the same be the woman whom the Lord hath appointed out for my master's son. And before I had done speaking in mine heart, behold, Rebekah came forth with her pitcher on her shoulder. And she went down unto the well and drew water. And I said unto her, Let me drink, I pray thee. And she made haste and let down her pitcher from her shoulder and said, Drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. So I drank, and she made the camels drink also. And I asked her and said, Whose daughter art thou? And she said, The daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son. whom Milcah bare unto him, and I put the earring upon her face, and the bracelets upon her hands. And I bowed down my head and worshipped the Lord, and blessed the Lord God of my master Abraham, which had led me in the right way to take my master's brother's daughter unto his son. And now, if ye will deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, the thing proceedeth from the Lord. We cannot speak unto thee good or bad. Or excuse me, we cannot speak unto thee bad or good. I went backwards there, folks. Verse 51. Behold, Rebekah is before thee. Take her and go, and let her be thy master's son wife, as the Lord hath spoken. And it came to pass that when Abraham's servant heard their words, he worshipped the Lord, bowing himself to the earth. And the servant brought forth jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, and gave them to Rebekah. He gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things. And they did eat and drink, he and the men that were with him, and tarried all night. And they rose up in the morning, and he said, send me away unto my master. And her brother and her mother said, let the damsel abide with us a few days, at the least 10. After that she shall go. And he said unto them, hinder me not, seeing the Lord hath prospered my way. Send me away, that I may go to my master. And they said, we will call the damsel and inquire at her mouth. And they called Rebekah and said unto her, wilt thou go with this man? And she said, I will go. And they sent away Rebekah their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant, and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said unto her, thou art our sister, be thou the mother of thousands of millions, and let thy seed possess the gate of those which hate them. And Rebekah arose and her damsels, and they rode upon the camels, and followed the man. And the servant took Rebekah and went his way. And Isaac came from the way of the well Lahairoi, for he dwelt in the south country. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the eventide, and he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted out the camel. For she had said unto the servant, what man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, it is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. All right. I'll do a little. Look, I could unpack this all night long. I'm going to make this point about those pedo worshippers, or whatever you want to call them, those Muslims. On this chat site that I no longer use, that I've been off of for well over 4 years now, I quit, called Pal Talk. I was in a chat room where it was a debate room, anybody's faith, whatever it is. And the room owner was an angry little Muslim. And here's what he told me. That marriage was when Isaac was 40, but Rebekah was 3 years old. Okay. Well, there's a big problem with that.
No. I told him I'd show him.
Oh, but you're not going to show yourself?
Yeah,
well, you're going
yummy.
to give me some later, too. Yeah. We got that from Rural King. Anyway,
popcorn.
Here's the problem with that. We're not talking water pumping wells like even my grandfather on my adopted mother's side, when he retired from farming and went into town. And I don't know if the house still has that pumping well at the back, behind in the backyard. It's a well, and do your thing. And well, the well's there, like what Rebekah had to deal with and others did. A small well might be 25 feet around, up to even over 35, 40 feet, okay, around. I'm trying to think how many feet deep you go. They have steps. They had to make steps, folks. You're telling me that a 3-year-old girl took these heavy empty buckets all the way down, filled them up, which made them many times heavier, and then had to trot up with the full buckets of water. Is that right? And he ended up bouncing me out of the room. We had big. When did this happen? I think it was 2016. Yeah, 2016 or something like that. A 3-year-old's not going to do that, folks. Rebecca had to be in her teens, I'm guessing, to 20 years old, whatever she was. So if a Muslim tries to give you that kind of nonsense, laugh in his or her face. If they're willing to listen, tell them what those wells are really like. Some of them still over there are like that now. Oh yeah. She had to be one strong young lady, just to let you know. And that's the other thing, too. She was strong, and she was competent, and obviously she was trusted to be able to do her cattle driving and stuff like that. Whatever, livestock, and and she was humble. Eliezer, she served him without question, just like that, and his camels and whatever, and she went with him to go meet her husband-to-be, Yitzhak, Rivka and Yitzhak. So, yeah, look, it is so false. It is so false. That pedo-chomo religion, I hate it. It needs to be destroyed. I actually know the ages that they were doing back then, and I'm kind of almost afraid to talk about it on my channel, Hoss. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't recommend it for our culture, American society today anyway. Not only that, but those young ladies today that we see, heck, they'd be as old as I am, and they're still not ready to be married. They have no respect, and they don't know how to conduct themselves. But, yeah, she had to be up there in age, in her teens to whatever, at least like Hoss just mentioned, 3 years past. Or coming of age. You figure it out, folks. But let's do chapter 25. All right. Then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah. And she bare him Zimram, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua. And Jokshan begat Sheba and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Asherim, and Letushim, and Lumim. And the sons of Midian, Ephah, and Epher, and Hanach, and Abida, and Eldaah. All these were the children of Keturah. And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. But unto the sons of the concubines, which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts, and sent them away from Isaac his son, while he yet lived eastward unto the east country. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived, in 115 years, which would be 175. All right. Then Abraham gave up the ghost and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, which is before Mamre. See, that's the cave that Abraham originally purchased. It was set in stone, figuratively speaking, but that contract and all the witnesses and the 400 pieces of silver and, frankly, people's word being a lot more trustworthy back then compared to today, especially with the more Hebraic perspective, folks. Yeah, I know. But going on to verse 10. The field which Abraham purchased of the sons of Heth, there was Abraham buried in Sarah his wife. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt by the well of Hiroi. Now these are the generations of Ishmael. Abraham's son whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abraham. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael, and by their names according to their generations, the firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth, and Kedar, and Abdil, and Mibsam, and Mishnah, and Duma, and Massa, Hadar, and Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their towns and by their castles, 12 princes according to their nations. And these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people. And they dwelt from Havilah unto Shur, that is before Egypt, as thou goest toward Assyria. And he died in the presence of all his brethren. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian, of Padan Aram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. Yeah, well. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. Okay, as we continue on, I use this chapter for pro-life, to be anti-abortion, folks. Verse 22, and the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. Okay, he was 60 years old by then. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau, because he did eat of his venison. And Rebekah loved Jacob. Before I continue on to verse 29, I think Isaac, Yitzhak, did love his son Yaakov. But sadly, he loved Esau more. Okay. And Rebekah, she loved Yaakov, or Jacob, more than she did Esau. And that's sad to be doing that. You see a lot of sin, you see a lot of mistakes in godly men and women. Just so you know that. That's why I say not to put these people on too much of a pedestal. They're human. They're flesh. They're sinners. They're made of flesh and blood like you and I. And we have just as much access to Elohim as they do. Or as they did. So I just thought I'd point that out. And Rebekah does show that she loves both sons, even though she helped Jacob deceive her husband, Yitzhak. Because she didn't want to lose 2 sons. Anyway, continuing on to verse 29. And Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? He despised his birthright. He didn't care. And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. And then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Thus ends the reading. All 34 verses of chapter 25 of Genesis. I'm sure he felt like he was going to die. He probably was pretty faint. He could have found another way to eat and rest, and he didn't. He's a pretty vain man, that's obvious. So, and God ended up hating him, literally hating him. Just keep that in mind. Also, there's a and I don't know how true it is because you can't trust some of those books. But like in Jasher, we call it Yahashar in Hebrew. He was pretty tired, evidently, because he hunted down and executed, basically took out Nimrod. How true that is, I don't know. I just don't know. So anyway, then again, there's another rumor about it that Esau took out one of Ham's sons, down the line. But either way, he was tired from hunting, whether it was animals or humans, who knows. And he was good at it, really good at it, let's be honest. I've hunted before in my life. I'll do it again if I think it needs to be done. I've done livestock. I've helped other farmers and ranchers in the past as a labor hand. Those are good skills that Esau had, don't get me wrong. But, be thankful for it and use a little EQ. Okay. Anyway. Okay. We've done that now, folks. We've gotten around here and I'm checking things here. That being said, I don't know how. Look, I'm going to give you bits and pieces of a video. My wife wanted me to do this, and I get it. There's only so much I want to do in a night. The videos get very long and drawn out. Let's be honest. I get tired, and I get worn down, as I've told you before, even on a spiritual and mental and emotional level. That being said, folks, I will put the video link down below once I have signed off. I always do that. I do it within seconds. Maybe on a slow night, I might take 2-3 minutes, but the point is I get it in there. And it's a guy who I'm subscribed to, AV Saint. Let me look. Yeah, Saint AVS. I got it backwards there for a second. So, Saint AVS is, well, what do you think, Hoss? I mean, I'm drinking some pretty powerful coffee with some sugar and cream involved. That's in the picture. Maybe you can't see it, but hey, I can taste it. So, that being said, folks, I'm going to focus on one part of this video that I do recommend you to watch. Okay. On St. AVS. The video is 40 minutes and 52 seconds, and it's worth all of it. And I think you should subscribe to St. AVS when you go look into it. I'm going to share it now. I've been on his panel, I think, twice. It's been like over a year and a half, just so you know. Now, the part that I'm going to show is, again, what's going on, how blatant this world is getting. And children, the way they are misleading children, the fatherless widow, the fatherless children, and the crying out, and these people are going to have to do some real serious answering one day. I promise you, I guarantee. I don't promise, really, a threat. I guarantee it, because I believe the scriptures. When Yah says he'll hear it, and he does, I believe that. But this really bothers me. I think you'll see why. They're just being so blatant about it, folks. And, okay, I'll get it going.
And I also want to say this as well. Whenever I say something needs to be done, I'm always talking legally, okay? Just to clarify. Anytime in my entire channel when I say something needs to be done, people need to unite, I'm always talking legally, okay? So now, moving on. This story here is just very strange, okay? Extremely, extremely strange. And it's, well, kind of not connected to what I normally talk about on my channel, although I have before. It's a weird situation. And I don't know if it's 100% true. but I want to show you it and get your thoughts. Benjamin posted, children are being sold in plain sight on Vinted. Now, if this is true, this is absolutely sick. And he's shared this video, this image here of a Vinted advert that says purebred, tight, plush, trade, sell. And then it goes down here and it says pizza and a rabbit, and it says 3-year used DM for measurements, purebred, white. A lot of people are speculating that this is child trafficking happening on Vinted, which is an app that is used for clothing. So I went deeper down the rabbit hole and I came across this video here.
They are selling on Vinted. Don't believe me? I'll put some photos here.
I mean, I went and did research myself, and it's crazy the amount of ads there are that advertise teddies in this way. I'll read some out to you in a moment.
Screenshot them, read them. Okay, let me talk about this. I know I only have like 30 followers on here, but I really do want to talk about this because it's important. So, as you can see in the description of the photos, I don't want to be.
Okay, anyway, I'll just explain for you because I don't want to get copyright claim because she plays that song throughout the entire thing. But basically, I'll show you some that I came across myself here. Look at this. You have, well, it's a tweet, but I found this one like buried in the comment section. It's a tweet of someone showing that there's teddies being sold for 30,000 euros. You know, there's another teddy over here described, we read earlier, for 6,300. One down here described as 1.1 meters tall. Just disgusting. And it says 31,500 euros. This one over here, 4 years. Disgusting, people. 2,100 euros. So something needs to be done if this is really legit. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. If any of you feel led to go and dig deeper into that and maybe bring it to the authorities and just find out what exactly is going on. We all need to be involved in this together. You know, I'm one person. I try and bring as much research out to you as possible, but sometimes there's so many stories and so much sickness going on. It's hard to report it all, whilst also, you know, having a sound mind.
I think it fits.
The American takeover still seems to be taking place.
Okay. There's a number of subjects that St. EBS covers in that video. And I recommend you to subscribe to him, share his video, get him all. I mean, he's way more viral than me now. I mean, I'm nothing compared. But I get him up more. I've talked to him a couple different times, face to face on the camera, and he's the one who's really taken a risk. He's from the UK. A lot of those people get arrested for talking about certain things or posting and texting and that. And Elohim has seen fit to keep him out there. Pray for him. You want to know how much our politicians care about children? Let me show you something. You gotta listen to this crap.
I'll make a step.
All right. Rosa DeLaura is of the 3rd Congressional District of. I brought her up before in a past live stream. Connecticut. She's 83 years old. Look at her. I'm 57 and I'm too old to be doing that to my hair. I mean, that woman's what? 26 years older than I am. But forget about that part, I guess. You got to and Mark Wayne Mullen, and it's not that I overly like a lot of the Trump bootlickers. I don't, but I'll tell you what, Mark Wayne Mullen looked very sincere to me. And there's other videos where you can find where he did get to explain and talk with other congressional members that let him speak, and he looked like he was emotionally just had a hard time. But let's go ahead and do this, because this woman is trash. Huh? No, I'll do that another night, Deb. Anyway, let's get this moving.
I'll make a statement to you again, but this is fact from the bill, Mr. Chairman. The bill that the Republicans have proposed for funding the Department of Homeland Security cuts cybersecurity budget by more than $250 million. It cuts the TSA by nearly $350 million. And the Trump administration is openly advocating for privatizing TSA while trying to eliminate their collective bargaining rights. We all know what happened earlier this year. TSA workers endured the longest government shutdown in history. There was a lot of discussion and talk invoked about the long lines and the use of leverage to force through a Homeland Security bill without any reforms to what were critical ICE and CBP reforms that were necessary, that the American people wanted and were clamoring for. They didn't want to continue to see masked marauders on their streets with just harassing people. Congress eventually passed my legislation that paid TSA workers, funded FEMA, CISA, Secret Service, and the Coast Guard. And today, and it took you 79 days on the Republican side to make that decision to pay these people instead of just talking about paying this. The administration continues to attempt to walk away from the collective bargaining agreement with TSA workers, something that the federal courts have now twice said is illegal. Indeed, your testimony frames the attempt to force over 200 smaller airports in this country into a new security structure as a setting. And quote, the TSA, this is in the testimony, the TSA is on the path to privatization. My question on this issue is, given all that the transportation security offers did for us during a Republican shutdown, how can it be that the department's position is that TSA workers should not be granted the same basic labor protections as federal enforcement officers? How can it be that your priority is to have them work for the lowest bidder, where the wages and the benefits of these workers will unquestionably be lower?
Well, actually, it was the Democrats that voted every time to shut them down. Republicans voted every time to open them up.
Pass,
So
just give me
we
the
didn't
answer
shut them
to my
down. You shut them
question.
down.
Answer my question.
I did.
What are you doing? Why are you moving?
Ma'am, I answered your question. You were the one that shut them down. It was the Democrat shut down. How many times did you vote to shut them down?
Why? You know, these people come to us to get funding for the work that they do, and we are.
I'm actually factually correct. I'm factually correct. You voted to shut them down. Republicans voted to open them over and over and over again. Your vote clearly stated that you voted to shut us down. And it wasn't until it became popular. And then, by the way, ICE agents came there and helped bring the lines down. The same people that you also kept shut down for 150 days. I'm answering the question.
No, you
I thought you said you answered it. The floor is hers.
My dear.
Actually, I gave it to her. You know, there is a chairman of a committee. That's me. I gave it back to her.
This tells
She's
you
got it.
something about who these folks are. And
You have
everybody
another
on
question,
this
Madam
panel.
Ranking
Well,
Member.
yeah, no, I do, but I didn't get an answer to a question.
So the record
can
will
it
so
be-
reflect.
Thank
Please
you.
ask your next
Okay,
question.
and I will.
That didn't give the complete thing. That's not what I was really looking for. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. In here. Let me look. Oh boy. All right. Major clash. All right, here we go.
Your concern about the lost children, but I also want to remind, I do appreciate Mr. Secretary, your concern about the lost children, but I also want to remind people that let's not forget what was a Trump administration policy initiated by Stephen Miller, which was to let us separate children from their families at the border, because this would be a way to curtail or to stop immigration. Separating children from their families, how to hurt them the most. I asked and had a phone conversation with Secretary Azar at the time. I know I was in my living room with my 2-year-old grandson on my lap trying to have this conversation. And I asked him if there was a way in which he had a list of how you could reunite children with their families. And he assured me that we did. You know, when you take your clothes to the cleaners, they give you a tag and you then go back and you retrieve your clothes. When you get luggage, you go and get your luggage is returned. Well,
I wish the Biden administration would have done that.
Let me just say this to you, sir. Again, it is my time. 3,900 children were separated from their families.
450,000 kids were lost during the Biden administration. You didn't say a word about
Mr. Secretary, do not interrupt.
Don't you point your finger at me. Don't
I
be a
will
hypocrite.
point my finger
Don't you be
at
a hypocrite
you.
then. Then you be as then you should be as upset about the 450,000 kids that were lost. You didn't say a word about it. For 4 years, you never said a word.
Mr. Secretary.
Could you put him in his place for
Don't yell at
You
me.
should
I'm
be
the
put in
good
your
one.
place.
Mr. Secretary, if you would like 4 minutes for a closing statement when everybody's done, I'll give you that. But while members are on their 8 minutes, I need them to have their 8 minutes.
I started my
I
comments.
appreciate that. My issue is that they say this for sound bites, and I'm not going to let them say
What did
like
you
that.
do
That's not
just
true.
recently for sound bites? I sympathize with the 400.
We are going to have something resembling order here. The time is the ranking members. If you would like to respond later on, there are methods to do that, but it's not a who can talk louder into the mic.
It's not.
So you are recognized.
Thank you very much.
I will not let her
Mr.
sit there and lie and accuse something this ridiculous.
You know-
This is the legislative branch and it's my hearing. And so I'm going to try to some extent to control it moderately.
And do
Thank you.
not accuse me of lying. Do not.
Then don't.
I do not. I appreciate, and I said to you at the outset, there's concern for children across the board. We care deeply about what's happening to children. And I went to the border and I watched children in those fenced in places years ago and what was happening to them. So I have a long history, Mr. Secretary, in this area. 3,900 kids were separated. Secretary Azar told me he had a way to reunite them. Many of them were not reunited till today. And I don't want you to answer this now. Please get back to us and tell us what you are doing with regard to the settlement in terms of this issue, which is out there, which your department needs to come close to. I'll make a statement to you again, but this is fact from the bill, Mr. Chairman. The bill that the Republicans have proposed for funding the Department of Homeland Security cuts cybersecurity budget by more than $250 million. It cuts the TSA by nearly $350 million. And the Trump administration is openly advocating for privatizing TSA while trying to eliminate their collective bargaining rights. We all know what happened earlier this year. TSA workers endured the longest government shutdown in history. There was a lot of discussion and talk invoked about the long lines and the use of leverage to force through a Homeland Security bill without any reforms to what were critical ICE and CBP reforms that were necessary, that the American people wanted and were clamoring for. They didn't want to continue to see masked marauders on their streets with just harassing people. Congress eventually passed my legislation that paid TSA workers, funded FEMA, CISA, Secret Service, and the Coast Guard. And today, And it took you 79 days on the Republican side to make that decision to pay these people instead of just talking about paying this. The administration continues to attempt to walk away from the collective bargaining agreement with TSA workers, something that the federal courts have now twice said is illegal. Indeed, your testimony frames the attempt to force over 200 smaller airports in this country into a new security structure as a setting. And quote, the TSA, this is in the testimony, the TSA is on the path to privatization. My question on this issue is, given all that the transportation security officers did for us during a Republican shutdown, how can it be that the department's position is that TSA workers should not be granted the same basic labor protections as federal enforcement officers? How can it be that your priority is to have them work for the lowest bidder, where the wages and the benefits of these workers will unquestionably be lower?
Well, actually, it was the Democrats that voted every time to shut them down. Republicans voted every time to open them up.
Pass,
So
just give me
we didn't shut them down. You shut them down.
Answer my question.
I did.
What are you doing? Why are you moving?
Ma'am, I answered your question. You were the one that shut them down. The Democrats shut down. How many times did you vote to shut them down?
Why? You know, these people come to us to get funding for the work that they do, and we are.
I'm actually factually correct. I'm factually correct. You voted to shut them down. Republicans voted to open them over and over and over again. Your vote clearly stated that you voted to shut us down. It wasn't until it became popular. And then, by the way, ICE agents came there and helped bring the lines down. The same people that you also kept shut down for 150 days. I'm answering the question.
No, you
I thought you said you answered it. The floor is hers.
My dear.
Actually, I gave it to her. You know, there is a chairman of a committee. That.
Okay. I've started playing the part that I had originally played on the shorter video. I'll put the links in. I can only take so much of this. I'm not a psychologist. I went to college stuff, but I didn't take any psychology. I kind of kicked myself because I read it pretty well on a human level. I read people very well. I'd consider going back to college, but with what's going on around the world now, I don't see any point in it. Because what I'm trying to figure out is Rosa DeLauro, along with others, they have children and grandchildren and whatever. She's 83. I don't know if she has great-grandchildren by now or not. I have no clue on that. She makes me sick to my stomach. That being said, folks, I compare them to, like, Rosa DeLauro, Jamie Raskin, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the pole dancer, Nasty Jizz in her crotch, or Jasmine Crockett. You know, some of them have kids and grandkids, some of them don't. Praise the Lord that AOC does not. I don't believe Jasmine Crockett does. That's not what cuckold means. And I really don't know technically if that guy supposedly being the chair of that meeting, if he really is a cuckold. I'm just being blatant here. I can't stand these people. I have hatred in my heart for these people. And if anybody has a problem with that, well, okay. I've pointed out verses before about how God hates people. Well, evidently, a man after God's own heart hated people too. His name was David. You go to Psalm chapter 139. I'll type it in so you can look it up if you so choose. Oops, I got to get that in. Okay. I'll get to the part where I compare them and look at them similarly as I do to the Nazis before and during World War II. I'll read it. For they speak against thee wickedly, and thine enemies take thy name in vain. Do not I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee? And let me start over. My tongue is rolling because of my lack of teeth, and I'm getting a little bit emotional here. Do not I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee? And am not I grieved with those that rise up against thee? I hate them with perfect hatred. I count them mine enemies. Rosa DeLaura is an enemy. AOC, who doesn't know what a garbage disposal is an enemy. Okay? Chris Van Hollis, is that his name, the senator? He's an enemy. Chuck, anyway. Hold on. You got Chuck Schumer and them. He's one of the two main senators in New York State. Supposedly a Jew. And a lot of us Jews, we don't acknowledge him in any way, shape, or form. He has backstabbed us so badly now that, he's going the opposite of what he used to talk like when he was both. Well, before when he was a congressional member and then eventually became a senator. These people are enemies. A lot of these people have children or grandchildren and more. And during the 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration, around 450,000 kids were lost. And yet they were willing to bounce their own grandchildren on their knees, spend time with them, and so on. The Nazis would go and give the orders, of course, under authorization from Adolf Hitler, and Hermann Wilhelm Goering, and so on. They would put them in those Nazi death camps, in the gas chambers, and have them killed, have them executed, murdered. Really, murdered is a lot more of an appropriate definition, for the word. Mothers and their children and their babies. Sometimes they'd have to shoot them, and after they did that, some of them went loopy. I get that, but a lot of them too. They'd go do their job for the day of mass executions of children as well as adults, and they go back home and play with their children, bounce them on their knees, and this baffles me. It blows my mind. And that's what I'm seeing now with our politicians. Now, I don't know about Trump. He has children. He has grandchildren. And he's starting to sway over and do some really stupid things. I hope he isn't that seared in his conscience. I mean, there is hope, right? So I compare Rosa DeLaura and the rest of them to the Nazis. They can call Trump a Nazi all they want. I don't care. I don't really like him much. I never did. I've never been a MAGA Republican. I'm a theocratic monarchist, just so everybody knows. I've said that numerous times already. At that time, I was like, well, vote for the lesser evil of the two. Make your vote count. Now I'm starting to wonder if that's even worth it anymore. And, when you destroy the most precious commodity on God's earth of children. I mean, I have a very good memory. I remember, not everything, but I remember a lot of what I thought and how I talked and walked and the way I was when I was a young child. So that being said, folks, I wanted to emphasize on the children's part. That Rosa DeLauro doesn't give 2 pence about those 450,000 children. If she really, truly cared, she would have said something during those 4 years. And I didn't need to hear Mark Wayne Mullins say it. I already knew that. The other people I mentioned didn't say a word about it. Not once. The people that did, a lot of them had their homes busted into by the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation when that was all going on from 21 to 25. Not just a former president's residence in Mar-a-Lago. So it really, I can't handle this. And I wish there was something we could do about this. Common sense tells me we're never going to find all of the 450,000. I guess quite a few thousand have been found. Some of them have to be dead. Some of them are just, we'll never find them. Dead and buried, gone somewhere. And, you know, when you have that kind of blood on your hands as a nation, we're in big trouble here. And rightly so. We deserve it. To actually believe that Rosa DeLauro truly cares, even about the children that she mentioned that are separated due to Biden-Harris's administration bringing them in the first place. I really can't even put that against Trump that much, really. Maybe they should do a little bit more of a careful job. But again, who's the one who's qualified to address that? Rosa? I don't think so. So anyway, I thought I'd bring that up. There's a lot more stuff. I will be doing more live streams. Whether I connect them onto the readings or do them separate, I'm sure I'll do both. We are halfway through the scroll, the Megillah of Genesis, Bereshith now. 25 out of 50 chapters, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm happy about that. Get God's word out there. Please share this video. Please thumb it up. Get it out there with the algorithm. Share it to others. So I'm having a hard time with the children thing, and I always have. That's why I don't like talking about that much more, really any more than I do about AI data centers. I mean, I can't handle it hardly. And I've seen what's happened to children. I've also seen what's happened to people who are falsely accused, and just how evil and wicked this system really, truly is. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay safe out there. Keep your heads on your swivels. Read God's word. Pray for understanding and ask how he wants you to be obedient to him. Peace. Shalom. The Levite man is out of here.